Tarnantella served in the U.S. Army for 22 years, where he was a member of a rapid deployment force, a paratrooper, and a light fighter. He's a lifelong resident of Renova. This is his first time running for public office.
Thomas Tarnantella, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me.
So tell me a little bit about your background. You were born and raised in Renova,
Right.
And you spent 22 years in the U.S. Army and were deployed around the world.
Yes. I did spend 22 years. I was a paratrooper at Fort Bragg. I was a light infantryman out in the 7th Infantry Division in California and Fort Drum, New York. And I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Central America, and I've been to Asia.
Why are you running for representative of Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District? I read somewhere that you decided to enter the race after watching fellow veterans denied access to the World War II Memorial during the government shutdown.
Yes, that's correct. And I was watching that on CNN, and my daughter was home from college, and we was talking about this, and she said, "Dad, don't think about it, be about it." And I said, you're right, because after I spent my whole youth in defense of the country and our freedoms, it was time for someone to stand up for the common people out there. And that's what the decision was made.
How has your personal and career experience prepared you for a congressional seat?
Well, I think it's about action. That's what the whole thing is, about action. It's about working together. It's about loyalty. And that's all the values and experience that the U.S. military fosters in you and brings you along through your whole career. Yeah, I mean, that's what should be the concerns for our representatives in Washington. How can we do this better? Not politics, not the left against the right against the center against the left. It doesn't make sense to the common person on the street that's out there hurting. And where my career would in the military would be is get away from big business. It's not about that. It's about the small things in life. That's what matter. And with so many Pennsylvanians hurting, if we would just use a common sense approach to just governing.
And you've talked about the fact that you're not a career politician.
Right. I've never held a public office, and this is a pretty big bite, the U.S. House. But it has to be done because we're falling by the wayside. Is this the country we want to give to our children? Are we actually going to see the fall of Rome?
What would be the first issue you'd tackle if you were elected?
The first issue is jobs. We spent 225 years building an infrastructure that we're watching deteriorate around us. Not just our roads, but our water systems, our schools, airports, federal buildings, state buildings, our monuments, our memorials. All that investment, all that sacrifice over all those years is just deteriorating. And if we could put people back to work, increase the tax base, then maybe we could get something done.
As a representative of Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District, you would represent 16 counties. That district covers almost a quarter of the state. How do you plan to reach and represent such a wide area?
Well, we learned that it is large. We've been traveling, and we have different areas. We have the northern region, the southern region, the western region, the eastern region, and everybody has a different values, but the concerns are basically the same. Throughout the whole 5th Congressional District. So what's good for Center County is probably good for Erie County, Clinton County, Potter County. It's all about the common good for the common people.
In 2012, according to the Center for Responsive Politics, the average winning congressional candidate spent more than $1.5 million. I haven't been able to find a record of how much you've raised. How do you stand financially, and who's backing your candidacy?
Well, right now we have the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Ways, the Brotherhood of Locomotives. We have the AFL-CIO, and so far we're doing pretty good. But you got to remember this. It's not about the money. It's about the people. Think about this. Roosevelt cured polio with a dime. Do we have to buy, it's a dollar amount, how much per vote? Because when I first started out, they said, you got to raise like $10 per vote that you get. And As a non-career politician, it doesn't make sense to me that you have to raise $3 million to represent the people of the 5th Congressional District.
So you talked about jobs and the infrastructure. What are some other issues that are important to you that you think distinguish you from the other candidates?
Well, I have a real good heartburn about corporations moving the jobs overseas and our federal government giving them tax breaks as an expense to move their manufacturing overseas, to give them a deduction for workforce overseas, shipping costs back to the United States. That's a big issue. Now, how are we going to have people working in America trying to compete with the people over there? Because in business today, it's about the bottom line. There is no loyalty. It's about how much money we can make for the short-term goal. And by denying corporations that move overseas our tax breaks, that'll allow the corporations that remain in America and maybe bring some back from overseas manufacturing. That would be part of the stimulus packet. It would actually stimulate, because if you don't have to raise taxes, I believe you have to broaden the tax base by putting more people to work, by giving them a living wage so they can pay taxes, and that'll pay off in the long run.
Congress's job approval rating was around 13% in Gallup polls this month. It seems that Americans aren't happy with what their representatives are accomplishing. If elected into office, how are you going to change this?
We have to look at what the interests are of the people. What are the duties of the office? And we have to set goals, and we have to set priorities to achieve those goals. You just can't get down there and do a 10-second soundbite or a 20-second soundbite every day and be against everything. We got to start working together. And it's just this simple. In '69, we put a man on the moon. When President Kennedy said, we're going to put a man on the moon, what did Congress do? They funded NASA, and we put a man on the moon in July in '69. In '55, when we started the interstate system, imagine today without the interstate system. When President Eisenhower said, we're gonna do this project, and Congress worked together for the common good, for the common goal. That's not happening today. It's what are we against this week? Not are we helping people? Are we improving? They're all, it seems like to me, and I'm not a career politician, but they're just working to be reelected. Just get by the soundbite, get reelected. I mean, 10% of the approval rating, 90% reelection. I mean, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to change this? We can do better. I know we can do better. We deserve better.
You're a Democrat, and the 5th Congressional District is predominantly Republican. Some might wonder, why run with uphill battle ahead?
It is an uphill battle. It is raining, and it is in the mud. But I don't think that Glenn Thompson has represented the 5th Congressional District the way it should be represented. You look at the Farm Bill. He likes to talk about the Farm Bill, his milk subsidies, and the insurance, which is all good things. But we got to look at the bad side. $100 million to a reality show in India to promote cotton, $25 million to study catfish. Okay, now that's all well and good, to spend that kind of money, $125 million on those two pet projects. But when you cut the SNAP program, and you got 660,000 veterans that are on the SNAP program, when you have 5 counties in Pennsylvania that have 48% of the students are collecting free or subsidized lunches, and we have one school district, 68% of the students are getting free and subsidized lunches. Something's wrong. We have to work for the common good. And yes, they are. The Democrats are outnumbered by 20,000, but there's 68,000 independents.
Imagine that this interview is the only time a potential supporter will hear directly from you. What would you want them to know?
Well, what I want them to know is to stand with the people. because it's about the people. It's the people that are suffering. And when I was in Flemington, I had a young couple there, and they said, Tom, we're part of the 2.6 million. And it didn't dawn on me at that time, but they were unemployed. And they were fighting an uphill battle trying to find a job that paid more than $7 an hour. I think it was $7.50, and and I could feel their pain. I was over there in Warren County. There was a man, 57 years old. He had just lost his job. His company moved overseas, and he was working for. He got another job, but he didn't know if he could make it because of the hourly wage. I know we can do better, and if I wanted the people to know anything about Tom Tarnantella, is I will work for the people. And that's what it's all about. It's about the people. It's about the kids. We got 40,000 schools in America that need renovation or replaced. We're looking at budgets. We're 29. We're going to remove 29,000 teachers' aides. What's a school without teachers and educators? It's a warehouse. Are we preparing our country, or our kids, our younger generations, to compete for the next generation? The whole problem is we're losing focus in government of the needs of the people. My concerns are you want to have an education system, but you don't want to have teachers. You don't want to have schools. That makes no sense to me that we go that way. We have so many hungry people, but yet we cut the food subsidies. We have our LEPA program, low energy efficiency help for our people. We cut that, okay? But we don't cut anything of the corporations. Not saying that that's a bad thing to make money. That's not it. That's the American dream. But the problem is we have to help each other to get through the tough times, because this is the greatest recession since the Great Depression. And look at what would our grandfathers do and our fathers who won World War II. They call them the greatest generation. Would they accept this? What's going on today? No, they wouldn't. And the majority of them, they were in the Great Depression. They weren't. They got a high school education was 8th grade to them because they had to go to work. And they went over there, young men and women, and they fought World War II. They came back and said, we can do better, and we are better. And then all of a sudden, we start focusing on the wrong thing. And like I said earlier, are we watching the fall of Rome, the great America, infrastructure decline? Are we just throwing good money after bad? What? I don't understand it. We need to get the voters out. They need to vote. Because if we have 24% voters voting, that means that 13% are the ones that are controlling what happens every day. If you got a chance and make a time to get out to vote, take a friend, because it's all about the people. And only the people can change us, because everybody else is protecting their interest. Are you protecting yours?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
That's a pleasure.